let's see. This is kind of the follow-up to the heterogeneity talk. The heterogeneity is our starting point for sampling and decision making, but even once we conceptualize what the heterogeneity is, then there's actually a big issue about extracting the material correctly, because we can also mess up the sample at that point. You remembered in Piaget's error diagram, the 7 sampling errors, there's increment or sample delineation error and extraction error. So they're 2 separate errors. We'll talk a lot about that here. I'll run you very quickly through a lot of pictures of sampling devices you've probably seen. If not, you can get them on the net. But we will talk about what is the difference between a correct sampling device and an incorrect sampling device, which before I started this, I had no idea there was such a thing as an incorrect or correct sampling device. But it does make a difference. I had some sense, this was actually from my first job. I was a field geologist in East and West Texas, and in West Texas they have oil. And I came up to a well. We were actually drilling for lignite and subbituminous coal, but I came up to this oil well and somebody had a little mayonnaise jar or some kind of jar, and I thought, all right, here's Bubba, as they would say in the South where I'm from. He just runs out there, unscrews the thing, dips it in, and he gets a sample. Now oil, well, it's probably more homogeneous, but there are stratification by layers. Okay, so he can bias his sample too. And I didn't know I would use it, years later, but that's an incorrect sampling device. Okay, well, why are we concerned about correct versus incorrect sampling devices? Well, it goes back to an issue that's associated more with laboratories, and that is precision, accuracy, and bias. And this rolls into statistics, of course. We want to define those because precision and accuracy are sometimes a little bit confused. They're sort of related, but they're not the same thing. Basically, the simple way to think of it is precision is how much repeatability do you have. If you can measure a quantity over and over and you get very close to, if not the same answer, that's repeatability. That's precision. Or if you're a marksman, if you shoot at a target and you shoot over and over and you get the bullseye or you get a tight pattern, that's repeatability. Okay. Now, you also have to be careful what they call the Texas Sharpshooter. There's an old story about the rancher who wanted to increase his income by selling his services as a marksman and a trainer. So he went out to his barn and backed off some distance, shot a bunch of holes in the barn, took a can of spray paint. Guess what? He did a pretty good job.